Hi, I'm Nancy. Welcome to Mindful Yoga. Today, our theme is the feet, and I will be acknowledging Chris Holmes from Kripalu, who is a body worker there, as well as a yoga teacher, who taught me a lot of what I'm telling you today. In addition, we have the theme of udana. Udana is a kind of prana, a prana of growth that goes upward, that helps us to stand and keep our neck upright and have positive energy. So let's take a seat and begin our breathing, settling down into the practice. Feel the weight of the body on the earth, the weight of the sits bones, then lengthening up through the spine, using that udana energy, upward moving prana, to stretch the spine up, tuck the chin a bit, and bring the crown towards the sky. Invite the breath down through throat, lungs, expanding the lower ribs and the diaphragm. Squeezing the diaphragm, emptying out. You might add a ujjayi breath, contracting the back of the throat, particularly on the exhale. Letting that energy help you to squeeze the diaphragm. Two more breaths like this, aware of that upward movement in the spine, this prana of enthusiasm and effort. It actually lives in the mouth and the throat, we are told. And so this ability we have for self-expression, for speech, rises up through the pranic energy into the throat and mouth. So one of the breaths for udana energy is to breathe from the tip of the tongue to the throat chakra at the bottom of the throat. So if you can envision bringing the breath that short distance from the tip of the tongue to the throat and back. Encouraging our self-expression through our upright neck. Now we're going to inhale through the mouth, something we don't usually do. Inhale through the mouth into the throat and exhale with a quiet om at your own pace. Two more inhales through the mouth and exhale om. And then coming back to your regular breathing, bringing the attention once again to that prana of growth, upright through the spine and through the back of the neck. Let the chin come down to the chest, and then let the chin lead as it brings the gaze upwards, opening up through the cervical spine in this flexion and extension. One last time. Then coming back through center, one hand comes to the opposite side of the head. Push head into hand, Exhale as ear goes down towards shoulder. Relax down through neck and shoulders and cheeks. Now bring the other hand with a curled fist and bring your knuckles to the back side of the neck as you massage the top of the shoulder slightly, but mostly the back of the neck, increasing the flow of lymph. And nose might come a little bit down. Gaze might go down a little bit. And then slowly releasing that and bringing the other hand over the opposite side of the head, pushing head into hand and releasing that contraction, ear to shoulder, relax through cheeks and neck and shoulders. Then bringing the opposite hand up and knuckle massaging that side of the back neck. Chin might come down a little bit more into the side. Starting to get all of our fluids flowing through the body. And slowly releasing that massage. Inhale as arms come wide, elbows and wrists are loose. Bring the shoulder blades together a little bit in the back, and then chin down to chest as pinkies come together and elbows also come towards each other. Inhaling, opening up the body. Let the spine enter in slightly as we open through the front of the spine and then the back of the spine. One last time. Hands come down to the thighs. If you have anything high underneath you, move it aside now and come onto a blanket. We'll start with a twist to bring that movement to the spine. Arm goes to the opposite thigh, other hand comes behind for support. Come back to that prana of upward movement from sits bones, the hips, all the way up through the mid-spine, to the back of the neck, up through the crown. And you might bring the chin a little bit towards the shoulder on that side, increasing the twist slightly. Breathing long to center the twist up the spine. Then release the hands, come around to the other side. Let that upward prana lengthen the spine. Perhaps tuck the chin towards the shoulder slightly. Maybe adding an ujjayi breath for a little more centering. And coming back through center, we'll come into a side movement for the spine. Plant one hand beside you, other arm reaches up. Lengthen from hip up through shoulder, up through fingertips, and then come over, draping that arm across. Holding for a moment. And then coming to the other side. Plant the hand, reach up from hip through fingertips, and come over. To choose joy is to see all of existence as a gift. So the practice of joy is inseparable from the practice of gratitude. Gratitude gives birth to joy because gratitude teaches us to receive life as a gift, right in the moment we're in. Take a breath as you come back through center. Appreciating this moment we're in. Then bringing legs wide, hands to the side or behind for a little bit of support. Let's turn the ankles, getting these ankles ready for our focus on the feet today. And then changing direction, coming around. Now let's wiggle the toes. Just wiggle the toes any way you would like to, becoming aware of how pliable and flexible they are. Maybe spreading the toes if that's available to you. Maybe turning the big toe down a little bit, then rolling across and turning the little toe down. Playing with the feet a little bit and their flexibility. Then bring your hands behind one thigh, raise that leg, and we're going to straighten the leg just as much as is comfortable, reaching out from the hip to knee and knee to foot. Beginning to open up in the back of the leg, but not straining anything. Everything very gradual here. Let that leg come down, and we'll lift the other thigh, stretching knee to hip, and then down the calf from knee through ankle. And bring that down. Bring the knees wide, heels towards each other a bit, arms in between the thighs, hands wrap around so they come here around the shins, come back onto the soft tissue behind the sits bones, and bring the feet up in front of you. Lotus is the name of this posture. We've done it before. But we're going to, this time, clap our feet together, like the flippers of a seal. Again, becoming aware of our feet and what they can do. We don't have as much flexibility as a seal, but we can clap. And then letting that come down. Extend one leg and bring one foot up so that you can investigate your toes a little bit. We're going to become aware of the first joint of our toes, which is right up at the tip of the toes. It's about halfway down the big toe, so you can bend your big toe, flexing and extending it. And then the second toe, it's a much smaller portion of the toe on the very tip as you bend it down and extend it up a little bit. So our toes have this ability to flex and extend, which helps us in our balance. They also, so that's what happens in that joint. The next joint, and this is information from Chris Holmes, I want to acknowledge him once again. The next joint is between the toes and the metatarsals. So the metatarsals are these long bones across the front of the foot. And there's a joint between each toe and the metatarsal that connects with it. So we can flex and extend each toe, bringing it up and down, experimenting with that joint that connects each toe with the metatarsal, up and down. These joints are little cups. So they not only flex and extend going up and down, they also rotate. So try bringing your little toe out a little ways, and you see it can go out to the side. Same with the fourth toe, the third toe, the second toe, and so on. They all have this rotational ability. Now, the metatarsals don't have many joints. They are for sliding and gliding. They're for stability. So our toes help us with our mobility. The metatarsals help us with our stability, as does the heel. The tibia bone comes down, it's your shin bone, comes down the front and rests in the saddle of the talus, the ankle bone that holds it. So that weight is coming down directly into the heel. Developmentally, the shin bone develops the first three metatarsals and the first three toes. So the weight as it comes down is coming right into those first three metatarsals and toes. The lateral bone, the fibula, doesn't carry weight. It develops into the fourth and fifth metatarsal and toe. And those are more for balance. So your first three toes bearing weight and your last two toes are more for balance as they kind of come out and rotate out. Bring the other foot up and we'll exercise the up and down movement, the flexing and extending of the first joint of each toe, holding the tips of the toes. The tips of the toes are full of nerves. So they're important not only for balance, but also for feeling how warm or cold the water is before you go into it. Exercising joints, first joints of the toes, and then coming back to the second joint of the toe that connects the toes to the metatarsals. Experimenting with both the flexing and extension up and down, but also with that rotation that the toes can go back and forth, side to side, as well as up and down. And in that way, our toes help us with our balance as well as with our walking and strength. And then come back through the arch. So giving the arch a little bit of massage here. Arches, the bones are built to spring and lift, but we wear shoes, we walk on pavement, and we challenge our arches. So our arches tend to be a little weaker because of that. And part of what we're trying to do today is to bring our weight balanced onto the foot and also to bring tone to the arches. So by bringing our weight properly on the foot, we can help our arches. And then feeling down that tibia, feeling the weight coming into the ankle bone through the first three toes and metatarsals. The weight comes down onto the middle of the heel and the outside half of the heel. So it's almost like the weight comes down into the heel and then somewhat comes across from the outer half of the heel across to the first, second, and third toe. And we'll be practicing this, so we'll come back to it. Let's give the arch a little bit of massage on the other foot, taking care of ourselves here on both sides. And then we'll come to a standing position and experiment a little bit with this. To come into a mountain pose, knees are firm but a little soft. Feel the weight coming down into the heel. Let the arches fall in, come to the inner half of the heel bones. And notice how your knees kind of come together, your thighs kind of get wishy-washy. Then bring the weight to the outer half of the heel and feel the thighs. Now the muscles are much more engaged. So this weight, if it can come down in the middle of the heel and towards the outside half of the heel, will have a more balanced stand. Then feel that weight coming forward to the first three metatarsals and through the first three toes. Maybe spread the fourth and fifth toe out if that's available to you for a little bit of balance. Just rock back and forth, feeling the weight coming back and forth between the first three toes in the front and the outer half of the heels to the center of the heel in the back. Now, keeping that balance, coming to a stillness, let knees be a little soft. Bring the shoulders up to the ears, squeeze shoulder blades together, down and front. Just a simple shoulder roll here so that a bit of your mind can also stay on the weight that's coming into your feet and maintain that balanced centering in the feet. And one time around the opposite direction with the shoulders. Then with shoulders relaxed and arms heavy, let the arms relax, come up overhead and back along the sides and across the abdomen. Again, just a simple movement that gives a little bit more challenge to our arches and our feet. Are we still anchored and centered with that slightly diagonal line from the outer heel, outer and center heel to the first 3 toes? And depending on the strength of your arches, this may be more or less challenging. Now we're going to bring the hips out in the back. So arms will reach out to the sides, come up overhead, come to the front, and then hips reach to the back and knees bend slightly. Coming back up, arms wide, inhale, arms overhead and forward, and then hips back, exhale. And as you come into this and continue, let the mind's eye come down into the heel, anchoring through the outer half of the heel and through the first 3 toes. If there's any fatigue, it will probably come in the knees. The hips go back a little bit farther. That can keep some of the weight away from the knee. One more time, and we're going to hold down there for several breaths. Hips back. Feeling the feet as they feel the earth and attempt to stay in this balanced, centered anchoring. And bring it up. Now we're going to just walk down our mat. So coming to one end of your mat, bring your first 3 toes and the first 3 balls of your foot down. Then come down onto the heel, the outer half of the heel. Walking very slowly, bringing down the toes and then bringing down the center to outer heel. We're trying to just let the feet embody this centered way of balancing the feet. Then turn and come up over the mat the other way. Obviously, we can't think about this all the time, but we begin to let the feet know what it is we are hoping and expecting of them. Then coming back into a mountain pose for a moment, one hand to chest and one hand to belly. Just feeling, letting go of any questions of right or wrong. Alive in the feet, and the ankles, and the knees. Breathing in and out. Experiencing existence and the joy of that existence. Then the letting hands come down. We're going to come into a forward fold. Arms rise up, gaze rises up. Knees and hips are soft as we come down into a forward fold. Hands might be down toward the mat, or you might have hands on opposite elbows. Hips rise up, knees remain soft, relaxing down through the sacrum, down through middle back. Knees are soft here, so you can come down, let the prana of growth grow your spine downwards. Neck very loose, able to move easily, rotating, flexing, extending. Now bring your attention to your feet. Are you anchored in a centered way? Bring the hands to one ankle. Weight comes into that foot more than the other. Feel that weight through the outside of the heel and the first 3 toes. Then opening the outside arm into a twist. Maintaining that centered foot. Bring the arm down, come over, hang over the other foot. Experiment, explore the balance in that foot. And then open up. And come down. Now we're going to come into a plank. You might just reach your feet out in the back, bring your hands securely under your shoulders, fingers wide, balls of the hands taking some of the weight, reaching back through the heels. Now there's not weight, but there's certainly energy coming down through the heels. For 3, 2, and 1. Come up into downward dog. Weight in the hands, hips back over the feet, long, using again that prana of growth to grow your arms, grow your sides, grow your spine. Knees are very soft. And then paddle the feet a little bit. You can feel the weight coming into those first 3 toes. And you can feel the balance that's necessary from the 4th and 5th toes. And then we're going to come down into a cat-cow. So tabletop position. Inhale as tailbone rises and heart shines forward. Exhale, tailbone comes down towards the earth, arching the back. Don't move the way fear makes you move. Move the way love makes you move. Move the way joy makes you move. And gradually coming back through center. Make sure your left hand is directly under your left shoulder. We're going to stretch out right arm and left leg. Feel the balance in the torso. That's your place of stability. And then reach out through the front fingers and the back toes, long, long here. Letting the breath center you, balance you. Aware of that balance between the left hand and the right knee and right foot. I have my toe a little tucked back there to help me with that balance. And then bring those down. Right hand is directly under the shoulder, left arm and right leg stretch out. Feel your balance. Feel your mobility as you stretch out from shoulder through fingertips and hips through toes. Breathing. And bring it back in. Bring the right arm up and then feed it under the armpit as the shoulder comes down, kissing the mat. And then rising back up, gaze follows the hand as it moves. And one more time, reaching up in the back, coming under, and finding a resting place that is comfortable there for a moment. No special effort needed. And coming back up. Weight comes into the right hand, left arm reaches up under the armpit. Gets the mat with the shoulder. And one last time, up and through, taking care of anything in your body that needs to be taken care of. And then rise up through center. I think I remembered to say that because I have a shoulder that's hurting a little bit. So I needed to care for it. We're going to come down into a prone position. Bring the arms along the side with the hands in towards the body. Walk the legs down a little bit. So we're bringing a lot of energy from the hips down through the toes to be long there. Also bring some length from the pelvic floor as if it's reaching down between the heels. Then come to the crown. Imagine the crown reaching up a little bit farther making the spine maybe a ½ inch longer than it was before. Then inhale as head and shoulders and legs rise, and then arms follow. Maintaining that length for 3, 2, and 1, and bring it down. Lengthen once again, down and up. Inhale, head, shoulders, legs up, arms rise. Breathing. Then let legs come down, arms come wide. They're still pointing backwards. Thumbs are up like a flock of geese in the air. Lift head and shoulders, employing hamstrings, glutes, all the muscles up the spine for 3, 2, and 1. And bring it down. Hands can come under cheek. Relax for a moment. Then we'll push back into an extended child's pose. So my arms are extended out in front and my hips are coming back towards my heels. I'm on the flat side of my feet, so the front of my feet at this point. Maybe you're on your fingertips so you can extend a little bit farther from fingertips back through hips. Then bring your attention to your toes in the back. Push down your big toe and then come across and push down your little toe. Noting, feeling that rotation that you have in the toes as you go from big toe across to little toe. Keep the weight in the little toe a moment and then bring it back over to the big toe. Can you feel any difference there in your thighs? It's all connected. We'll come back to that. Now come forward, have a nice stretch, open up chest and belly. And then we're going to curl toes and come back once again. Feel the weight coming into the first 3 toes. Bring the weight over into the 4th and 5th toe. How do the thighs feel now? Then bring it back into 1st, 2nd, 3rd toe. How do your thighs feel? Then let's bring our hands back a little bit. Knees come wide. Toes stay together. Let the stomach come down in between the thighs and just drape down. Relax a moment. Letting the hips open as you do this. Then rising up, we're bringing our hands to the outer sides of the mat. The shins are along the outer sides of the mat, and feet can be where they're comfortable. They might be at 90 degrees or not, modifying as you need to. And this is frog pose, and we're just going to go back and forth, feeling, exploring your limits as you come forward and back, and what's good for your hips. Then walk the knees back together. Hands come a little forward of the shoulders, right in front of the shoulders. Tuck the toes. Bring the hips up, back over the feet. Coming back into that udana, the prana of growth, from the hands through shoulders, back through hips. Perhaps the heels are coming down a little bit farther, probably not touching the mat. If they are, think about the weight coming through the heels. If not, think about where the weight is coming. Come up onto your tippy toes. Feel how flexible those joints are between the toes and the metatarsals as you come up onto your toes, heels high in the air and then down. And also keeping track of the weight and where that is in the foot. Then bring the weight into the left foot, right foot rises up in the back, push into hands and foot, rise up a little bit more. And then bending the knee, come in under the belly and bring it through between the hands in the front. And the knee comes down and we're coming into a knee down lunge. Notice the weight that's coming from the knee down through the shin bone into the heel, anchoring through the center of the heel and the outer half of the heel, and feeling the weight coming a little bit diagonally over to the first, second, and third toes. Maybe wiggling the fourth and fifth toe just a bit, recognizing their job as balancers. I have my foot flat in the back, so I'm on my on the front of my foot. Try again, bringing your weight into the fourth and fifth toe in the back foot, and be aware of that thigh muscle. Then bring the weight into the first, second, and third toe. How does that engagement of the thigh muscle feel there? Then we're going to bring hands down, roll over the front foot, and bow slightly over that front leg. Turn big toe down. This is in the front foot. Turn the big toe down and the little toe down. Little rotation there in the foot, and then bring them level. So as your foot is there, resting on the heel, keep all of the toes level. And then we'll come forward once again, and we'll tuck the toes in the back. So coming into a knee down lunge once again, this time with the toes tucked in the back. And as we do this, we're getting the toes a little bit more plasticized in the joints, getting them more flexible. Once again, do that experiment of coming into the fourth and fifth toe, back into the first, second, third toe, and notice the difference in the thigh muscles. Then bringing hands down, we'll come back into downward dog for a moment. Reach up on tiptoes once again, bringing heels towards the mat and up and down. Then bringing the weight into the right foot under the hips. Reach up with the left foot. Reach back, strong through hands and foot. And then knee under belly. Or coming onto knees. However, you can come into a knee down lunge once again. As you come up into the knee down lunge, noticing the nice stretch in the front of the quad and the hip, the back leg, the weight coming down, explore the front foot. What kind of balance and centering do you have there? Notice the back foot. I'm on my the front of my toes. Bring the weight to the fourth and fifth toe and then back to the first, second, third toe, sensing that difference in the thigh muscle. And then we'll come back over the heel, bowing over that front leg, turning front toe to pinky, back and forth, feeling that rotation in the toes, and then bringing them level, so they're level across. Coming forward, tucking the toes in the back. And once again, feeling over into the fourth and fifth toe, reverberating that up through the thigh, and then back into the first, second, third toe. I can feel really good stretch for the quad and the foot, and some power coming into the hips and that front leg and foot. And then we're going to bring our feet together and come up into a standing position. Our ever-present feet, finding your balance once again, anchoring. Knees are firm but soft, coming into mountain pose. And we're going to come into chair pose. So inhale as arms rise. Exhale as you sit down onto a stool. aware of the balance in the feet. Inhale up, exhale down, keeping the arches well toned. And one last time, up and down. Holding for 3, 2, and 1. Hands come down. We're going to do a bit of a balance. If you want a chair, you can have it. Again, keeping that foot anchored as we do this. So we're not going to do a lot of balance, just enough to give a little challenge to that anchoring and centering of the foot. One foot comes back, so you're resting on the toes, back behind the body. And the other foot is anchoring, feeling the outer half of the heel and the first 3 toes, and perhaps some movement as your foot adjusts to this balanced position. Then bring the knee open and the top of the heel just above the ankle. A little bit more of a balance here, and yet given a good bit of balance by those toes on the side and also the 4th and 5th toe. This might be enough. If you would like to challenge a little bit more, you could bring the foot up onto the calf, maintaining that same centering outside of the heel and first 3 toes. And you'll probably feel some work in the 4th and 5th toe as your proprioceptors are working to keep your balance in that foot. For 3, 2, and 1, and bring it down. If you're using a chair, bring that to the other side. Props are always a good thing. We use them when we need them. Bring that opposite foot back, and then your other foundation leg, finding your balance there with the 1 foot back on the toes, coming into the outer half of the heel and the first 3 toes. Then bringing the heel just above the ankle with some propping from the toes of the non-foundation leg. Explore the balance in the foot. Then bringing the foot up onto the calf, if that is a good thing for your arch, if you have the muscle capacity there in the arch for this, or maybe you're building it and you want to stay down. Feel the wobbling. And now you know that wobbling is trying to bring the anchor into the first 3 toes and the outer half of the heel. And those other toes are there helping to balance. And bring it down. Let's stand here for a moment. Hand on chest and hand on belly. Once again, knees are soft. 2 nice long breaths. Then let's bring our hands to our hip creases. Feet are a little bit wider than hip width apart. Knees are soft. Bring the hips over to one side, back to the other side. Just slow, easy hip circles here. Then back around the opposite direction. Looking around at your existence, finding the joy that is around you. I am lucky to have a window to look out of. And then coming back through center. Bring the feet together. Bring the knees together. Hands are on the thighs above the knees, and we'll turn the knees round, in part so we can feel that movement in the feet, along the outsides of the feet, along the toes, outside of feet, heel, exploring that movement in the feet. And then come around the opposite direction. and come back through center. Now we're going to do a series of warrior one for a little bit of back bend and then coming down over the front leg, ending up with warrior three. So I suggest either some blocks or a chair so that when we come to warrior three, we can just do an easy leg up and down in the back. So we're not asking too much of the body this time because we want to keep our focus on the feet. Just coming through some rhythmic movement here. We'll start with warrior one. One foot is forward, one foot is back. That foot is at 30 degrees or so. Knee is bent a bit in the front. The legs aren't greatly apart, but there is, we don't have one foot right behind the other. That would make it hard on balance. One foot is out to the side in the back. We're going to bring our arms into cactus. Then we're going to bring them up overhead, palms turning back. So pinkies are facing each other, then coming back through cactus, and then open the hands in the back with the palms open, back behind the body slightly. Coming up through cactus, arms overhead, palms back, back through cactus, and then palms open by the hips. And continue with that movement. Let the attention come back to the feet, separated now, exploring the heels on both sides. Is the weight coming down through the middle and outer part of the heel? Is the weight coming down through the first three toes? And what about the fourth and fifth toe? Are they providing balance? Keeping weight in both feet, centering both feet. It becomes a more difficult feat, if you will. And one last time, opening the arms, coming back up into cactus for 3, 2, and 1. Bring arms down along the side, and then let's sweep them up overhead into a more typical back bend warrior one. Weight comes a little more strongly into the back foot, opening from sternum up through pelvis. For 3, 2, and 1, and bring it down. Now bringing some straightness to that front leg and bringing all toes coming towards the end of the mat. Rub hands down the front of the leg to wherever is comfortable for you. You might have hands on chair, you might have hands on blocks or on the leg. So lots of options here. And we're just going to be gently raising the head and shoulders and then curling the back a bit into a C shape and coming in, approaching a back bend. It's back and forth here. Do you have the bandwidth to come into your feet? Exploring how they are anchored to the mat. One last cat-cow of a kind. Then bring the weight into the front foot and bring the hands onto chair or blocks as the back foot rises up. And you can have that toe on the mat or part way up or all the way up. And we're going to just rhythmically bring it down and up. Bring some length to the spine from the hips out through the crown. Where is the weight on the foot? Feel quite a bit of weight coming down into that heel. This requires a lot of the foot, both in balance and in weight bearing. One last time. And bring it down. Let's bring our feet wide for a moment. Come into a star. Knees are soft, hips are soft. Twinkle your fingers a little bit. Then bring the hands together. Push slightly between the palms. Interlace fingers. Do a little figure 8 with the interlaced fingers. And back the opposite direction. The other hand leading. Stretching out through the hands towards the wall on either side. Let the palms come towards the walls, maybe increasing the extension from elbow down through wrist, and also from the heart out. This is good for the heart meridian. Then bringing the hands down, we'll come once again into warrior 1 on the other side. So opposite foot from before, forward, finding your warrior 1, aligning hips, or your hips at 9 and 3 across, parallel with the end of the mat. Then we're going to come into cactus, turning the hands, palms back, pinkies facing each other as the arms go up, back into cactus, and then coming down with arms wide and palms forward, down around the hips. And continue with this movement. Cactus, arms up, pinkies towards each other, cactus, and peaceful warrior arms, palms open. Bring the attention back to the feet. Feel the weight coming down through each foot. Explore how that weight is distributed through each foot. One more cycle through, cactus arms, and up, cactus, and opening palms in peaceful warrior. Then we'll arch arms up overhead, opening from pelvis up through sternum, long in the back, long in the tailbone, opening up with prana of growth, allowing us to open in the front and come back. Back foot, toes come forward. So we're in a runner's lunge, and hands come down the front leg just to where is comfortable, stopping wherever you need to, soften that front knee. Hands might be on leg or chair or blocks, and then opening up with head and shoulders, kind of a cat-cow here, a slight cat-cow. Exploring the weight, particularly in that front foot that is getting a lot of weight. Are you toning the arch by coming into the outer half of the heel and the first 3 toes? And is there weight in the back foot? And what is that anchoring like? One more mini cat-cow here. Then bring the weight into the front foot. Hands come onto blocks or onto a chair or maybe onto the mat. Raise the leg in the back. And then begin that rhythmic movement. Just raising the leg in the back. Just enough effort, just enough udana effort to keep it moving in a rhythmic way. Front knee is firm but soft. Explore where your weight is. Are you towards the outside of the heel? You have that diagonal feeling over towards big toe, second and third toe. Arch a little tonified here. Chris Holmes says that, yes, people do have flat feet, but flat feet are not the problem. The problem is that the arch is not toned. So for all of us, we need to work on the toning, whether we have flat feet or great arches. And one last time, and bring it down. And coming up, let's bring feet wide and just come back and forth a little bit like a skater to loosen up. And then making your way down to the mat, coming into a lying position. We're going to stretch long and then we're going to do a twist. So first, taking a wrist up above your head in your other hand and pushing down with the heel on that same side of the body. Breathing long through that extended body, feeling that upward air of udana, prana of growth. And then coming to the other side, pulling up on the other side with the wrist and down through the heel. Generating that effort, enthusiasm, joy of life. And then letting that go. Bring arms down. Well, actually, arms will come out from the shoulders horizontally. One leg stays extended. Let's extend the right leg. Left foot comes up by the right thigh. Hips go over to the left a little bit. Left foot up on right thigh and draw that knee across with the right hand. Finding your comfortable place for this twist. Inviting a deep, long breath that is all yours. And yet part of the whole universe. One more breath. Release that knee. Bring the hips back to center. Left leg extends out. Right foot comes up by left thigh. Hips go over towards the right. Right foot on left thigh. Drawing that knee across. Turning the head if you would like. Relaxing down through the hips. Pelvic floor. The backs of the thighs. Calves, shin bones, heels, arches soft, the joints of the toes, the very tips of the toes. And then releasing, extending legs out or leaning knees bent together. Bringing that feeling of soft relaxation into the tips of the fingers, the joints of the fingers, the palms, forearms, elbows, up through shoulders, along the shoulders to the back of the neck, the back of the skull, the top of the crown. Letting the breath flow. Stay here if you would like. If you're coming back into your day, bring some movement to fingers and toes. Roll wrists and ankles. Give the knees a hug. What intention would you like to bring back into your day? perhaps just a little joy in life. And then rolling over, we'll come into a brief sitting position. May we be healthy. May we be free of fear. May we move the way love makes us move. May we move the way joy makes us move. Namaste. Good to practice with you. So nice to have you today, Gulia, and Anne, and Annette, Carolyn, and Schauber too. Good to see you all. Have a good weekend.